Ooh, and hello again, boys and girls. I believe that's me back online. I will suppose I'll find out shortly. Yes, it is. Good. I hope so. I suppose we will find out. Yep, and yes, welcome back. It's been a while. Did you miss me? I bet you did. So primarily I haven't been on for a while. I've seen a few videos go up, but I've been pretty tired from work. And so I've been spending most of my time playing Elden Ring. I finally got that finished with my build. I will see hopefully if I can do another Elden Ring playthrough if possible, but because it was running so poorly for PC, I couldn't get it to stream and run. Turns out I can't run it on turbo mode, it just throttles the machine, and so I've got to play it on like performance mode on my 2080, and that means that unfortunately you get stuttering and things like that, which is a bit of a pain. But it's been a bit of a dry spell in terms of games, apart from Elden Ring, which probably is my game of the year. But a bit of Battle Cry of Freedom. But unfortunately, I can't stream Battle Cry of Freedom because, well, it's a Civil War game. It's voice chat. You can see where it's going, and so I can't really stream that. So I've got to instead just do recording and edits for that. So I've just sort of been chilling. I haven't really got anything else on the agenda to play. So I thought I'd go back to the old Hoi 4 special. And then talk you through France. I did need to go through France. It's been a while since I've touched it, I keep on saying I would do France, but I never got around to it. We could do a one-off stream of Pathologic 2, which I may do on Sunday, depending on the timings, or we could do a bit of. I would like to try and do Elden Ring again, see if I can get that recording, but if not, then it's not the end of the world. Anyway, let's begin. So you can see my early run through to get reacquainted with France. So let's select the country, historical focuses, and this will be again to simulate historical multiplayer or historical games. Unfortunately, in single player, generally Italy will join with the Germans straight away, whereas in most multiplayer historical games, Italy will only join the war after France has fallen. So bearing in mind that this will not be a perfect simulation of the game. So, what is France? Well, France is a major, quote unquote, of the Allied stock in Hearts of Iron 4 multiplayer, historical multiplayer, and for the most part, it's an extremely weak nation because it has a lot of limitations. First, it's got the victories of the Great War, makes it very expensive to build up, meaning that you'll be behind in terms of tech, behind in terms of doctrine. You've got distorted government, which means you'll be behind even more in terms of getting your industry or your political focuses in place. Got a marginal alignment, not bad, and you've got all these other penalties which you need time to get rid of. Generally, the role of France is very often a nation very few people play, but you're effectively acting as the Axis speed bump. Fundamentally, a competent Germany and a competent Axis team will always beat a France, no matter how good you are as a France or a UK. With the correct historical rule set and with a competent Axis team, France will fall. It's just guaranteed. The only time France will not fall is if the rules are biased towards the Allies. For example, if the Americans can land lease too early, making sure that the Germans never get air superiority, if the Soviets can send tank volunteers and so on. But often, the only reason France won't fall will be because of a bad Germany player. So you act as sort of the... what's the word? You sort of act as the quality management for the game. You effectively test the Axis team, or more importantly the German player, and see if he's competent enough to continue on the game. So you put him through the most common mechanics like the org walls. You put him through building fortifications, so if he knows how to use bunker buster, and you put him through building some fairly good anti-tank weapons of anti-tank units to make sure he's built his tanks properly. This means that if he's got everything right, he will be able to breeze through you and win, and so on. So there used to be 2 or 3 strategies with France. So the first strategy was the hold France strategy, where you invested a large amount of industry into France proper, and then you could go down a focus tree and get it all paid back with invest in Metropole. This is extremely high risk though, because if you invested in France and the Germans took France and you lost, it meant that they would get all your resources, all your civs and everything you've built up in there. This means that it's a very high risk, really low reward playstyle, meaning that you'll stop the Axis guys, the Soviets having a game, and you force the Allies to really put all their eggs in one basket by holding or investing and supporting you, either through civ boosting and so on, to hopefully allow you to win in France. The second strategy was, of course, the abandoned France strat, where you put up a token effort and then just withdraw from France and this hold North Africa. You put all your investment into North Africa and West Africa, and use this as your base of operations to continue on the war. This eventually culminated into a bit of an exploit where you could delete your factories before the war, meaning that the Axis could walk in and you basically they'd get nothing. They'd get nothing from France. But of course, rules were put in place to stop that occurring. Otherwise, it'd be a bit OP. And it was also not a particularly productive strategy, because by allowing Germany to take France so early, you actually gimp the rest of your team. So what do I mean by that? Well, primarily, France, you got to think big picture in multiplayer games. You just don't think I'm the protagonist. You got to think, what do my actions do in terms of supporting the rest of my team? Now, you know that you are going to lose against a competent Germany, but the question is, how quickly does it take for you to lose? For the most part, you are acting as a speed bump to slow down and wear out the Germans for as long as possible, to allow the Allies to build up in North Africa, to build up those defensives, to get those tanks out and prepare for their campaign there. They're also trying to slow down Germany's access to your industry, so they have a harder time mobilizing for war against the Soviet Union. This means that it's actually very counterproductive to abandon France early, and as such, there's many rule sets in place to stop French players putting up a token resistance. So what your main effort is to be, not to win, not to go any aggressive, but to make every tile count, to drag out the war as long as possible until really you get pushed off eventually, and then this will hopefully allow the Allies to win and give them time to get their ducks in a row. So you really just have to pull up all the stops, but unfortunately your nation's not very well designed to do this. So let's take a look at our focus tree. The first thing I like to do is I like to rush down, revive the national block. Now you can go the quicker route down here, but you don't get as many bonuses. Whereas you go down this route, you should be fine. And you rush down to get buy time and strengthen government and defensive stratagems. Once you get defensive stratagems, you won't collapse as quickly against the Germans, and it means that you won't just like get memed and lose, and you'll be able to get your stability up. So you also need this if you want to do army reform, which is very important because of your doctrine limitations. So let's revive the national bloc. Next thing we want to do is we want to build forts. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say there's no point doing forts because of Fort Buster, and you are correct. If a competent Germany knows how to use Fort Buster, the forts will be irrelevant. But you are not going to beat a competent Germany. You are just testing the Germany to prove it's competent. So you're going to build those forts, and then you're going to see if the Germany player or the Axis team is competent enough to understand that they need to use certain generals' abilities to break through these positions. So one of the most typical methods is to, in fact, not hold your front border, but hold along this river line. I tend to just hold in the front border, and I like to use defense in depth. So as you saw in my Soviet build, my org wall build, you have a load of troops on the front, and then you have a load of troops behind. If any battles go red, you send troops in the front, and you just keep rotating. So this is why we're going to build this up. Now, certain rule sets will ban you building up to, say, level 5. So in this case, we're going to build up to level 5 in each port. Or each place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll be able to build up to level 7 with the use of one of our national focuses. This will build up over time. Now, if you want to do the other route, you can build up over here as well. But I prefer to build it here, even though this will probably be very counterproductive. However, Lille is an important supply hub, if you can see here. So if in fact you can hold here and here, it means that you can really slow down the German advance, potentially, but because everything's got such high infrastructure now, it's actually quite difficult. But Lille is actually a very important city, so building those fortifications will potentially buy you more time. It's all about buying time this France. You're just buying time for your allies. So what are we going to research? As you can see, we're very limited on our research slots. We've only got 3. So we're going to build 1 on construction to build those forts faster, and then we're going to do something a bit different. So we're going to start investing in anti-tank. Now, why are we investing in anti-tank and not going into anti-tank, not building into tanks and things like that? It's because it's cheaper in terms of military XP. You don't have to build up an entirely new tank regiment. And because of the new changes with no step back, you can pierce a lot of medium tanks now with a high enough level of anti-tank, which means it's a cheap alternative to building tanks. Bearing in mind that you're not going to have enough troops for 1939 anyway, there's no point putting too much investment in tanks because you won't be actually afford to build enough of them to be useful. You just want to bog your enemy down and make it costly, so you want to wear down the German armor. This also puts a next test for the Germany player. You are going to test his armor build composition. Can he build his armor properly? Again, against a competent Germany, they will probably be able to build the armor properly. They will probably get through your anti-tank, and you may not even be able to pierce them. But you, again, as I said in this, a competent Germany will break through anyway. So all you're doing is testing competence. Next thing we're going to do is invest in engineering companies, because this gives us extra entrenchment. This extra entrenchment is wonderful for us because we are going to go and be entrenchment hoggers. We're going to stack as much defense and entrenchment as possible to slow down the battles and eventually gradually wear down the enemy. This is going to be very costly for us, so we won't be able to invest in anything else. We won't be able to invest in infantry equipment, we won't be able to invest in artillery, and it means that we're putting a lot of our ducks into these 2 nests, which is not very good, but it is what it is. So this is a sort of a hold France strategy to an extent, but it's also it also does have its value in, say, North Africa as well, because you can use these anti-tanks in potentially North Africa and so on. Another strategy you can do as France is the abandoned France strat and invest in Marines or invest in Mountaineers, and that's a good idea. But you can also do it with this strategy after. Once you've lost France, you can start investing in your Marines and so on afterwards. You've got a big lull before D-Day anyway, so really this is probably the best bet. In terms of research, get rid of this tank strategy, we don't need it. Build 1 train. And you could build anti-air, but we're not going to. The reason why is because we can't afford it. We are strapped for cash as it is, and for the most part, we are going to be heavily limited on what we can do. Effectively, the Allies should always have air superiority, especially once the USA starts land leasing, and if not, at least the UK will be able to do contested air against Germany. So you really shouldn't need to be investing in anti-air as the French, because you can't afford it. Effectively, you're just too badly gimped. So next thing we do is we get our boys together, and we're going to do a very long period of hard training.
Écoutez. Gardez vos rangs.
How are we doing this? I'm going to shift click this. So we put these boys over here, and then we hard train. And now we wait. Because you are going to need your military XP. So I tend not to send an attaché to Spain because I just don't have enough PP to do so. A lot of the cases, instead I'm investing in command staff and so on. But I always send an attaché to China. China's a very important attaché to send troops to. Not troops. What do you call it? Not military experts. Yeah. Attachés. Attachés. Is also important. Okay, that should be good. Yep, looks fun. And now we're running out of oil, but who cares? There's nothing to worry about that. So we're moving all our troops off. Big mistake is building any sort of civs in France. It's not. You're going to lose France. There's no point building civs. You just want to be building up in North Africa. You want to be building up in Aleppo and West Africa. Building up in these areas will allow you to maintain a force and come back after losing France. If you invest all your eggs into France, you're just going to lose it badly. Okay, issue of diplomatic objection. Then we will go down. So you can go laissez-faire, which will give you now. So you have a choice here. You can go for civilian factory construction speed by 7.5%. You're not going to have a lot of time to build civilian factories, if I'm honest with you. You're going to be really sort of stretched in terms of building up your fortifications first, and then building up your mills. Whereas laissez-faire is actually a very useful research slot to have, because you can see, because I have with this build priority, I'm going to have to focus. I'm going to only have one research slot for industry for a very long time, and I'm going to need to go down construction, and I'm going to need to go down dispersed industry. And so this, coupled with the economy getting more efficient after 2 years, means that it's actually rather useful to go down laissez-faire to at least be up to a workable standard in terms of your industry. So we're going to go laissez-faire. Whereas civ construction is not that good. You won't be doing a lot of civ construction as France. So our forts are being built. Now, an interesting thing I have noticed here, you can see that Lille isn't a supply hub. I suppose what you could do is just build loads of high-level forts around the supply centres. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if the supply would be bad enough in Brussels to slow down the advance. It's a shame. Which is a shame. What do you guys want? Nothing of value. Yeah, I think I will play Pathologic. See if I can get it running first. You can see here how painful it is. Really, France is on the back foot in terms of building up quickly. So you can either take the plus 10% popularity or take the minus 5% stability. Better to be communist, if I'm honest, because you don't want to lose that stability. So let's get rid of that. Stability is important because if you have too low stability, then you'll start getting those sort of penalties there, which you can't afford to have as France. There we are, laissez-faire. Great for us. And then we can go down protect the rights of man, which gives us plus 5% stability, or we can go economic devolution, which increases our factory output and our dockyard output. However, if we go down this route, we're going to waste 70 days because we'll need to go down this route as well. So we need to go down protect the rights of man because we need to rush to get our stability up. So we got our first cannon. This immediately means we immediately go to anti-tank 2. And we hard research that shit. And there's no bonuses to hard research in this either, so you're just going to be in the pain train. However, it does mean that you can eventually sell this stuff to your allies, which I suppose is a good thing. Now, this would not really work against before not one step back because heavy tanks, I think heavy tank 2s and heavy tank 1s could actually break through a lot of the anti-tank arm stuff. Which meant that anti-tank was pretty useless. But with the new Note One Step Back DLC, actually a lot of anti-tank stuff can pierce most medium and light tanks. So if the Germany's going medium tank, you're going to be doing an awful lot of piercing, which is going to be great fun. If he goes heavy tank, I still think you've got a chance. I mean, I'll show you what the build looks like in the end. Construction. I suppose you could go down here and there's hard research, but we need these slots. That's the problem. We need these slots so we can build more in Algeria and West Africa. If we don't do that, then we're going to have a real bad time. There we are. We can now invest. So we built our level 5 forts. We can invest now. So I really start investing in West Africa, Madagascar. And the northern states and Tunis and so on. So you can go down here. Wouldn't recommend it. I would highly recommend instead going down here first. Get that political power because we want to go free trade and eventually get enough PP to get some more military experts. And it's not too bad. Yeah, altogether not too bad. In terms of stability. Stability is very important because it also affects surrender limit, I believe. Or no, it's actually war support. Basic machine tools. Dispersed industry, because it allows greater flexibility in your production lines. So unless you're going to be like China and there's cannon fodder with this horde of garbage troops, it's not recommended. So I'm always wary about sending. Ah yes, hi Tom, hi, welcome back. Long time no see, but it's been a while. It's been self-inflicted, really. I've been pretty tired from work. Been busy boy, busy little bee. So a lot of my stuff will be videos for a while until I've got some more proper time off. So we've got 192. We can't do partial mob yet because we need 25% war support. We won't even get that if we jump in the boat with the Spanish Civil War, so we may as well invest in free trade for extra construction and factory output. Let's do that instead. No, oh, you edit. Oh, cool. You can edit on what software are you using? Oh yeah, buy time next. I just use YouTube Studio. You know, I could play Steel Division 2 again. I haven't played that in a while. I have to remember how to play it though. Communist influence. Take the hit. Take the hit. Always take the hit. Decommie. Feel more 11. Ah, okay. Okay. Okie dokie. If I'm stitching stuff together, I tend to actually just use the Microsoft's video creator. But if that's only for basic editing, like real basic editing. Okay, this is done. We can now invest again into our dispersed industry, like so. Let's see if I can build more of this first. No, I can't. Now, the reason why I'm not building in here is because Japan takes this. So there's no point building civs in here just for Japan to take it. So we may as well just keep building over here. And because I can't keep building there, we're going to do a hard research into dispersed industry again. Or not, well, it's not a hard research, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, man. How have you been, Tom? How's your channel actually doing? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at that bad boy. Oh, not bad. Border gore. Not bad, not bad. I gotta go commie. I don't want to go commie, but I gotta go commie. Next time I'll just have to take the hit because commie's getting too strong. Too strong. And then strengthen government. So we need to do strengthen government because we need to take defensive stratagem. So once this is done, we can start focusing on other things. But for now, we're stuck. After that is done, we can begin rearmament. Or we can start going down devalue the franc. Now, I tend to go down and develop the colonies first and then go down begin rearmament. But you can pick a mix. As long as you make sure you get army reform before the start of the war. Oh, yeah, it's 100 views is good, especially early on. Always good early on. Next on our agenda is we need to start being friends with the Chinese. We need to get the Chinese on side, otherwise things will go badly wrong. And you just watch the trains. Choo choo. There's no oil, but you can keep going. All the way down to Marseille. Okay. So Spain requests aid. We can send it to take a 50 hit political power. Or we can say no. I think I'm going to say no. Maybe I did actually send it, but this time I'm going to play risky and not send it. So we've got a hard research done there. Let's see if we can build more civs now in the places that matter. Not really, no. Sort of. I stop improving relations now because I'm running out of... Yeah, I need to get that. That's cool. I felt like a bit of a greedy boy because I wanted to have Elden Ring all to myself. After I couldn't stream it, I was like, you know what, Elden Ring's gonna stay with me, and so I just decided to play that offline. I very much enjoyed that game. So we've now done strengthening government, so we can't kick this in until after 70 days. We can do this in 1939, there's no point researching this yet, and we can do this later as well, because there's no point researching this yet. The only reason we research this is so we can do army reforms. So we can either try and begin rearmament, or we can devalue the franc. because we can't do rearmament, because we don't have enough political power, we have to devalue Frank instead. I did enjoy Elden Ring. I reckon that's game of the year. I reckon that's game of the like past 5 years. Elden Ring was a great game. I played as a samurai, so I ended up dual wielding Moonveil and the Uchi Katana, and eventually I got stuck on my liner, so I put on the Dung Eater armor and did a mimic spawn, and I just about won it. So we've almost got our political power up. So you may be wondering, well, why aren't you trying to rush up here yet? And it's because I don't have enough war support. And the big thing that limits France is its military experience. So I need to get this bad boy up as high as I can, so I can eventually go down my doctrines. Because at the third doctrine point, prepared defense, I get some extra defense and organization. So I'm really trying to push there, and so I've got enough XP to build up my units and just build a strong defensive base. So let's take a look at the terrain we'll be fighting on. So most of them are going to be plains, so we're going to be able to fit in a solid 90 on these. So we don't really have to worry about the new changes to the battle meta. So instead we can just like build standard width units. I mean, there's a few forest tiles, but hey, who gives a crap about forests? There we are. We got our 100 political power, which is great. Hopefully these guys are now at war, so I can send an attaché. They are not, and we do not have enough command power yet. But we will soon, hopefully. Give me command power. Next step, develop the colonies. You can develop a metropole, but this is more for the all-in hold France strat, which you don't want to do. So you want to be going to develop the colonies and invest in West Africa, invest in Syria, and invest in Algeria. You don't really need to invest in Indochina, because you won't be building in Indochina. Unless you're going, most rule sets will have you give up Indochina to the Japanese anyway, by force. So. Although it has been a while since I've played a multiplayer game, but everyone uses mods these days, so there's probably really no point doing this guide. But you never know. There's some mods that only just speed up the vanilla base game. I'm tempted to buy one of these, but I can't do it. Won't do it. Too damaging. Good old caffeine. Amelia Earhart, hello, goodbye. And develop the colonies, which we can now invest in West Africa, where most of our investment will be actually in the long term. We can just invest in convoys. You can build properly, build up your navy proper, but why? So, can't send this guy just yet. Now we can. Send the attaché. Our war support goes up. Today is grinding day. Yep. I need to do more. I need to do more exercise. I need to start doing some leg day and things like that. Attaches will be sent where they please, and we'll continue on. So this is where we're going to get a fat stack of our farm experience. And hopefully this will be enough to start giving us partial mob and things like that. Are you going for the, what do you call it, the craze, the video making craze? Yeah, feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. I get tired doing a lot of videos at once. Sometimes I just want to play video. I just want to play the video. So we're going to try and gun for partial mob if possible, but because we can't get partial mob, there's no point doing it. So instead we're going to gun for another military advisor, because we need that military XP up. We're keeping Haiti. So West Africa's been invested in. That means we can build up West Africa some more. We can also now invest in Algeria and France. And keep it going. We'll do a mill switch in March 38, as per usual. But there's going to be a slight caveat to what we normally do as other nations. There's going to be a slight change to the plans of the mill switch. I suppose what you could do is just build forts and forts and forts, like level 3 forts all along here, just forever. I haven't seen anyone do that yet. It could potentially work to really slow people down. There's level 5 forts just for the entirety of this coast. But the tanks will eventually break through regardless, so probably not worth it. Can I get a new military commander? Can. Let's go with... I don't really want cavalry. I don't really want commandos either. I've got no choice. I've got to keep on tanking that military XP up. We've got our engineer companies up. Once again, hard research. By the time it gets to 1939, you should have level 3. Yeah. Especially if you want to edit videos properly. That's 3 videos, especially like a couple of hours long. It's a nightmare to edit and build. It's like, it is a full-time job. That's why I don't bother editing a lot of my work. So we invested in Algeria and France. We can now invest in Syria. And we will be good to go. So why are we investing in all this garbage? Because if we do colonial industry, they will give us an extra 2 civs per every state invested in. So because we've invested in Algeria and West Africa and eventually Syria, they'll give us 2, 4, 6. They'll give us 6 civs. Now we could invest in Indochina, but then again, the Japanese are going to get Indochina, so there's no point doing that. A game I've really enjoyed playing. There's a few hours on and off as our battle cry of freedom. It's given me a load of Napoleonic War vibes. I really enjoyed it. Is this worth it? Yeah, why not? Why not? It's worth it. Baby, you're worth it. You know what? I don't think it is worth it. We're going to keep on trying to stack defense. So you see here, this gives you infantry defense plus 5. This gives you infantry defense plus 5, and this gives you infantry defense plus 5. Basically a plus 5 infantry defense every time you invest in this. Now, if you invest in this unit, you don't actually get much increase in terms of defense. So if you want to stack defense desperately, you want to actually keep on going down weapons and equipment rather than this unit here, because it's more expensive. You need more investment into it, whereas if you just go up with the weapons and equipment on the top half, you can get more defense quicker. And if you're stacking defense like you should be as a good France player, then that is something you should be doing. So what are we doing now? We are going to prepare for a mill switch. So this is going to be done, this will be done in March. So our mill switch will occur soon, but there's going to be a bit of a twist. So normally your mill switch this is where you start moving to build mills. But as France, you're going to be something a bit cheeky. Instead, you're going to start converting a lot of your civilian factories to mills. Why are you converting a lot of your civilian factories to mills? It comes down to growth. So we just do all of this first, and I'll explain it to you because I can't do two things at once like a pure Homo erectus. Build up my mills back in North Africa. Can I build it in West Africa? Yeah, we'll build it in West Africa. So, why are we doing this? So, once Germany takes you, which they will, if they're a competent Germany, they will take you, they will get hold of all your civilian and military industry in France. And if they've done collaboration governments, which they will normally do, if they're competent access players, they will get a lot of them. So we switch them all to mills. Now, a lot of people will be saying, well, that's a bit counterproductive because you've just given Germany a massive military base. And that is true. But I haven't given them a civilian base, and it comes down to growth. Now that they've got all those mills, they will need to trade resources to use those mills in production. This will mean that they will get less civs because there'll be a larger civ sink doing the trade, and that means their growth will be slower. Equally, because they've got less civs in France, it means they'll have a slower growth for Barbarossa, which means that eventually they will slowly run out of civilian factories for use against the Soviet Union player. This is a good way of equipping France quickly. It's a good way of depriving Germany that rapid growth, and as civs win wars in this game, it's more better to give them mills which they can't use or have to spend civs trading to use than it is to give them civilian factories. So that is why we're going to start massively converting. Probably one of the few times where converting mills, converting civs to mills is actually useful is with France. And this way you sort of screw up the Germans' game plan. They don't get any of the civilian industry. All they get is mills, and it means they get a much more slower growth. It means that potentially if they still had all those civs, they would slowly by 1941 have double the amount of these mills. But because all they have is mills, they've got to build more civs, or they've just got to keep building mills, and they won't get the same amount of growth. Now, you see here that I've left some civs on the left-hand side for still personal use, for some use, continuing to build up mills and civs in North Africa. That's important because if you don't do that, you're going to have a real bad time once they do take France and you can't build anything and you can't trade with anyone and you cry a bit. This is where we do our colonial industry. This will give us our 6 civs in Africa, which is great. And I've also got to go down defensive stratagems. So once that's done, we'll go down defensive stratagems, and then we'll start going down the military tree. Which will pop soon. Our stability could be better, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. Once we do get enough military, enough political power, we will now go down to partial mobilization. But I need to strengthen government first. Also, because your military experience is at such a premium as France, you can't really invest a lot of that into your tanks. So a few players, especially back with not one step back, they went for, I think it was light tank, they went for light tank, light anti-tank. I think they used to go to the 1914 light anti-tank, and they used to try and out-micro the German armour. This potentially allowed the death of a few German tanks, but normally it didn't really work because they didn't have enough armour to... They didn't have enough tanks to counter the Germans' tanks. So they'd push the German tanks back one, then because the Germans had more tanks, they'd get pushed back themselves. And so the use of light anti-tank wasn't particularly useful as France, and it meant when you went to North Africa, they were also pretty useless. Because of the lack of supply up here. So a lot of times you see a lot of French players try and invest in these light anti-tanks. Half the time their light anti-tanks didn't work against a competent Germany's armour. And the other half of the time they maybe encircled one German tank or knocked them back once or twice, but again didn't really work. Go away, Turkey. There we are, devalued franc, that's gone. That's great news. When's my next focus? There we are. And then we can do partial mob. A lot of people will be like, why aren't you rushing partial mob? There's no point building more mills if my army's garbage. Sure, I could have invested in partial mob or waited around, but I need military XP more than I need partial mob. It's better to have a smaller but better equipped army than partial mob. Also, what you're doing is actually start slowing down your growth, meaning that once Germany does take you, they won't get as much resources from you. So we're stacking up our defences now, which you could say is a sort of a form of passive resistance against Germany. No ways, no ways. Inefficient economy, that will go in 1939, I think, which isn't that bad. In fact, I think we'll get an improved economy with laissez-faire capitalism soon. Come on. And defensive stratagems. This is great for us because now we can go down and start doing our begin rearmament. So we're going to be rushing down here as quickly as we can to get to army reforms now, because we will need it for the start of the Second World War. We can now go down partial mob, and we can start building up our military, our anti-tanks. Don't worry about this number. Once we start changing our units around, this won't be a problem. Same with this. Actually, this will be a problem later on, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. At this stage, people will be laughing at you, saying, look at this, France isn't partial mob yet. And you'll just be like laughing back at them. Waiting to org war their poor boys. These poor boys. So I tend to start switching back to not converting once I've got stability hit, or I gotta take the stab hit. I gotta take it. Once I've got about 12 civs left. And this is how you can quickly militarize as France, instead of just building more mills. I suppose what you could do to optimize this further is not do the switch until you've researched your 1940 anti-tank, but as you can see, I still haven't got enough mills yet to build any anti-tank, so this is probably the most optimum way of doing it. More military XP, my liege. I'll do anything for mil XP, and I mean anything. Big mistake a lot of people make is investing their mil XP before they get down to army reform. Don't do that because it's a waste. Don't do that. You're going to have a bad time if you do that. Leave the Czechs to their fates. Sorry, Czechoslovakia. Sorry, boy. Defensive focus. Why are we doing defensive focus? Because you can get that extra army experience and division defense as a chief of army. Why are we going down here? Again, it's because you get the fortification bonus and you get the extend the Maginot Line. The extend the Maginot Line buffs up your forts along the border by another, well, +3, so you end up with like +7 forts. So that's why we're going down defensive focus. Again, old meta, or back when they did the light tank meta, they used to go down down here, mechanized focus and that to rush the light tank models. Not worth it. Not worth it. It's not worth it. And of course you could go down firepower kills and levy en masse and all that good stuff, but I just don't see the point. I don't see the point. So, we're getting to the stage soon where I will begin building my units and we'll start talking about what we're trying to achieve with our unit compositions. Soon. Soon, comrade, soon. Still got the inefficient economy, that should go soon. I think 1939 that goes. Doctrines available, don't invest. Don't be a naughty boy and invest. Make sure to research radios before I forget. And you guessed it, it's another hard research down to improved anti-tank. So, it's time to build our army. First thing we do is we want 20 whips with a whopping, you can give them cavalry recon and then just save it. These are your 20 whip line holders. They're going to be pretty garbage, but they're going to have a nice level of entrenchment, a nice +7 entrenchment, which will get higher once we, I believe, go here and go with static warfare, which will give us a max entrenchment of +10%. Did that cost military XP? It did. I'm such a fool. I forgot about that. That was a mistake. Don't do that. Wait until you've got your doctrines, but hey ho, it's done now. And then of course you can go down here and go with elevated engineering to give you that +10% entrenchment speed, and then you can go here to go for tenacious defense. But hey ho, it is what it is. We will carry on. So this is your line holders. You can give them and then our other unit will be duplicated this. All these guys anti-tank. And we will build these guys. So you want anti-tank, 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 and anti-tank. And then you want to remove these. See, how many 24s going to 90? 24, 48, 70. Not many. Whoa, that's artillery, not anti-tank. There we are, anti-tank. And that's anti-tank as well. And then we can add an infantry. So we've got our 4 anti-tanks. What does this give us? A piercing of 62.2. We can also add an anti-tank here and give it up to a 64, but that's going to be diminishing with turns. We can also even add even more anti-tank to make them ridiculously anti-tank to get them up to 69, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So you're thinking right now, this unit is garbage. I can build a decent German armor that can break through this piercing. You are correct, right now it is garbage, but bear in mind it will have entrenchment bonuses, and once it does get to 1939, we will hard research the next part of the research tree, which will then allow us to have a higher piercing. And again, a competent Germany will always beat a France. That's the way the game was made, the way it was intended to be built, was for France to always fall. So this is just a check. This is another check on the Germany player. Does he build his tanks? Does he know how to build his tanks? Does he know how much armor he should have in his tanks? Does he know how much breakthrough? And so on. But we will check this later on once we do the next research to show you the next level of piercing it can get to. And for the most part, this will be a healthy piercer against most, well, every light unit and most basic medium tank variants. We take a look. It's also a lot cheaper in terms of army XP. It only cost me 20 army XP to do this. Now, if I was trying to build a tank and building a tank to go toe-to-toe with the Germans, I would be slapped. I wouldn't have enough army XP to do the next step. So this is very important, because if you don't do that, you're going to have a bad time. So let's split these guys up and start building our troops up. So I tend to have about 11 anti-tank boys. So let's take these guys, put them over here, call them anti-tank. Anti-tonk. Because they can stack, you see. They're a bit slow, so once the breakthrough does occur, you're probably going to lose them, but bear that in mind. So where's my anti-tank? Anti-tank. I need to also give them a different colour. You can be this fellow. Okay. Select all, switch to anti-tank. There we are. Switch these up. 19, 19, 19, 26, 1, 2. There. And switch these guys down over here. Or Italy. Italia. Italy. Sadly, this would not normally be required, but because it's single player, the Italians will join, and so I will have to bring troops down to the south. Most of the time, historical rule sets or basic gameplay will mean that Italy will not join the war until the fall of France in most multiplayer games. So bear that in mind, that this will not be a completely accurate simulator, and you will have another 19 divisions up in the north ready to go when the war does break out. And I would tend to use them as defense in depth. So we get these bad boys, take our fallback line and put them all the way over here. 1, 2, 3. There's our fallback line, and we will delete the fallback line after we're done. Don't forget to train these guys up, don't forget to train the Italians up, and don't forget to train these anti-tank boys up. The anti-tank boys can go behind temporarily. Sadly, these guys will starve a bit, but that's not much I can do about it. I will just have to screw up my meta a little bit. Again, this part is completely not part of the guide, but I have to do this for the AI. All these guys will be up north. You may have a few garrisons in North Africa, but all these guys will be in the north. But what you're seeing here is the part that is unpart of the guide. So I've got to improve the logistics here. So I've got to upgrade this area, which is a pain in the ass, but hey ho, it is what it is. Not much I can do about it. Why?
Attention.
You guys should be division infantry. Yeah. And you should all be training up. You should all be division infantry as well. And you should all be division infantry. There we are. Good to go. Make sure they've all got triple mechanized. Yes, they do. Give these guys a commander. These guys a commander. Actually, we need to do these commanders properly. We can't actually just screw around like buffoons. So we need to stack defense with our commanders. So we need to equip this guy, get a highest defense. So we've got the gold. The gold will be quite useful in the defense. If we look down here, we've got level 4 max entrenchment plus 30% as a field marshal. So Waynard will have to be here. Is that Waynard?
Attention.
Yep, that's really good. So Waynard will be our commander in the north.
Écoutez.
Mountaineer and infantry officer and old guard. So we are going to equip this guy. Yeah. And we're going to equip this guy. Tank, 3, infantry, cautious, max entrenchment. Well, let's give him the goal. Let's give him the goal. Why not? And then this guy can be anyone.
Pareil. Attention.
Start equipping our boys. Let's give them unyielding defender.
Écoutez. Attention.
Guerrilla fighter up to max entrenchment speed, and so on and so forth. So defensive focus is next. We are going to take. It's going to take us 316 days to get that sorted. It's going to take us 282 days to get that sorted, and it's going to take us a long time to get that sorted. But we are getting there. Next step, methodical battle. Elevated engineering cores. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I keep forgetting.
Écoutez.
Potato. Don't do that. Don't invest in these until you've got doctrine. That's silly. Silly boy. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but you know. You know how it be. Hey, more army experience. I'll take that. So, what you would normally have if Italy wasn't potato and joined the war is you would have the front line troops in the front, and then you'd have these troops behind as a second line just to keep feeding troops in if the war, if parts of the battle was going wrong. You'd have these scattered about in the back as well, so if you saw some German tanks come up, you'd be able to send these troops into the battles and do some piercing damage. But we will deal with that shortly.
Écoutez.
Methodical battle. Spain playoff, it's not yet. Well, actually, this time Nationalist Spain has done what it needs to do and not played around for like 1,000 years. Which is, you know, small races. So it's January 1939, so we don't potato it. We are going to go with Britain now, and then we're going to focus on the rest of our military doctrine. See here that we are behind on artillery, but that'll be done pretty much by the start of the war. We're behind on our anti-tank, but that'll be sorted soon. We're behind on our support equipment, but not much you can do about it. It is what it is. It is what it is. What can you do? And in terms of complete investment in France, we have done almost no investment in France, which is great. It means that when the Germans actually take France, they will have nothing to profit off of, apart from all the existing mills. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. What can you do? We can go up. Oh, we can't go up conscription. We can go humble or Pisa to get lower war support, but I don't think that makes any sense. We'll go for war industrialist. You guys still training? You are. I got to remember to turn these guys off training before the war starts. And I'm going to have to take some of these troops. Again, normally you wouldn't have to do any of this, but the AI is a potato and you've got no choice.
Paré.
against in a single player because Italy would join. I'll see what I can do tomorrow. I'm tempted to. I would like to do another live stream, if possible, but I don't know if I will have the time to do so. I have to take one of these troops here. But it'll probably be a pathologic game or maybe a Steel Division game. Take our boy back and we'll send him over to there. Only reason I'm doing that is to stop us getting gimped navy, in terms of navy. So we're going to move all our navy down to Algeria. So points to note. In a perfect world, you'd be able to have troops. You'd have a soldier in Paris, and you'd have some soldiers on the coastline. You'd have Garba soldiers, but this is not a perfect world in AI single player, and so all those troops I'd normally use for garrisoning and things like that, I cannot use. So you'd have to hope that the AI UK sorts its stuff out and stops any naval invasions from Calais, and failing that, then you just gotta believe. So I would have more troops garrisoning the north and that, but I can't do that now because of my limitations in terms of. Why am I not getting any oil from you? Give me one oil. Such a nightmare. So I'm not going to be too worried about getting to army reform before the war starts. As long as I get it before the start of 1940, I'll be a happy camper. I will be a happy boy. Also, there'll be rules like the UK can't join the war and so on. So let's start spreading out our anti-tank. Our anti-tank will be researched in 170 days, and this will then really demonstrate how potent anti-tank can be with the new No Step Back DLC. But because it's an AI single-player game, I don't think Germany's even going to bother trying to push. So we're going to start spreading our troops out all along the line. Like so. And what these guys will be here, they'll be here for damage control. They will go in if any German tanks turn up. This is rather expensive. Why is it so expensive? No idea. Oh well. Equally, if you cannot afford this, then you may need to get rid of some of your anti-tank divisions. Not the end of the world, this is a pain in the ass. Is this going to be done before war? Sort of. Sort of, but not really. Sort of, but not really. No worries, Tom. Have a good one. Enjoy. Radio's done. We can now focus back on our production. And we can do Alpine forts. And then we need to stop our training. We can no longer do any more training because we're poor. So this puts us nice and conveniently for the start of the war. Well, soon anyway. You can no longer build anywhere, which is a problem. Oh, actually we can. That's a lie. There we are. We've got so many trucks, it's silly. This is really good. This is really good. So we can now ease off production. This is quite good as well. Yeah, altogether, we're going to be ready. Probably be able to build some more troops as well. You can, of course, build mountaineers and so on, which is probably quite a good idea to do. So build your mountaineers because you want them for North Africa. So North Africa is a pretty interesting thing. So let's say if we did lose France, well, you will lose France eventually. But in this single-player game, we won't lose France because Germany is potato. You can see that most of the supply lines are along the coastline. So what you can do as France is you can just fortify. Of course, you fortify this bottleneck, but then you just try and defend this area here with as many troops as possible. And that way, if Germany tries to push through through here, there's no supply, so they'll just end up starving. So it's a very good idea that if you want to try and hold as France in North Africa, if you do get pushed back, is to try and hold this area here, potentially with forts, if you can build them, if you can afford to build them, or again, falling back and holding this sector and then these sectors and these sectors of troops along the mountains using your mountaineers, which you can do pretty easily, especially if you're getting boosted by the Americans and so on, but very rarely will you be boosted by the Allies because you're France and no one expects you to do anything worthwhile. So we've got the Alpine line sorted. These guys are still starving. Guess what that means? Further upgrades. Completely not meta, but we've got no choice. Go with the Allies to war, accept. Next step in the master plan. Extend the Maginot Line. And then war economy. There we are. Good to go. Not fully where we wanted to be just yet, but for all intents and purposes, it's not that bad. Yeah, we'll take a land lease. Again, you're not going to get that as France, so don't expect to get a land lease from any of your allies in a multiplayer game. Of course, this is where you should be limiting your trade and that through the Med and so on and so forth, so let's be good boys about it and limit our trade through the Med. This is still not really something to be worried about yet. Most Germanys will not try and knock us out straight away. They will instead try and push. They'll take Poland first, potentially farming it. I'll just take you as well. Again, don't expect to get any of that in a multiplayer game. In fact, next time I'll probably refuse a land lease just to simulate it. But we are going to reach an acceptable level for the war soon. So have we researched this yet? 35 days. This is really good for us. Poland is gone. This is where they'll start doing the focuses to declare war on Belgium and the Netherlands. Don't go in there just yet. It may be worth doing a hard research now. You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. So they can't break through, but that's because it's the AI. It's because it's the AI, and the AI is potato. So some people may be tempted to push into Brussels. May actually be somewhat of an intelligent idea now with the supply lines. However, the big problem with that is there's no fortifications, and it'd be nice to hold Brussels, but you just don't have the manpower to hold everywhere, and this is quite a thin line with defensive fortifications on it, so it's not worth doing. Don't push into Brussels. Don't do it, bro. You're going to have a real bad time if you try. These guys will push. It won't matter to me because I don't care about North Africa right now. These guys will try and push, and it will achieve nothing of value. Can I get this yet? No, I need 85. I need 85. Of course, they're never going to push on the Rhine, especially with OK troops. It's not going to happen. Even a competent player will struggle to push on the Rhine. So we've almost extended the Maginot. We'll be good. We'll be fine then. Don't have to worry about it. If you want to be a bit safer before you go down colonial industry, you can do army reform first. If you want to be a bit safer in terms of your build priorities, because they could just try and rush you, which could go very badly wrong. But it's the AI, so I don't have to worry about that too much. It's the AI, and it's not very good at what it does. So from here, the AI will be confused and scared. Oh, so it's now October 1939. So normally a Germany player won't have advanced this rapidly. They'll be going a bit slower, a bit more steadier, setting up their air and so on, unless they're real dangerous boys. This will mean that you should have your improved anti-tank ones. I think that's improved anti-tank ones. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, by then. This means that when you go to look at your anti-tank troops, you're going to have a whopping piercing of 67. Now, you can improve that and go up to 69. And if you are feeling particularly devilish, you can really go overboard on your anti-tank and get up to 76. This gives you a bit of a bit crappy org, I'll be honest with you. And it also costs an arm and a leg. So it's probably not something you really want to do unless you are desperate to get that anti-tank up really high. Only thing I will say is if you do intend to do this and you desperately need to keep upping your armor or your piercing, is start reducing the number of anti-tank troops you have. So we see here I've got 10. I would probably bring it down to 5 if I was feeling that my anti-tank troops aren't going to be effective enough against the German armor. But again, with the armor nerfs, this is perfectly healthy against most medium builds, and you can get it up a bit high if you need to. So save this build, chill out for a bit, take a look at our defensive lines. We've got a whopping entrenchment of 7, and soon we will hopefully have that sorted as well. As you see here, we're 167 days away from really going uber defensive. And we've got our final doctrine. Out of desperation, we're going to take this doctrine now. This will allow us to go our defense plus 10% and our org plus 10%, which now allows our anti-tank to have a whopping org of 37, which is great. That means that we can now, if we wanted to, go anti-tank, and have a 31 org, which is pretty healthy. And have that 76 piercing now. It's all gone up to 76, which is really good. Of course, it's very expensive, so bear that in mind. So from here, we're low on pretty much everything, but it's not the end of the world. That'll be gone in 31 days. That'll be gone in 97 days, and this will be gone in 17 days. Also, we got some problems with our support, but that should be okay. We've extended the Maginot, so what does this do? Extending the Maginot gives us a +2, so now we have level 7 forts all along the border, which is normally accepted in most multiplayer games. Again, the voices of Division will be saying, well, I can use Bunker Buster on that. Yes, you can. Any competent Germany will use Bunker Buster and break through these fortifications. But any competent Germany will take out a France. It is plain and simple. Any competent Germany will take out a France. It's just you are assessing whether the Germany is competent. That's all your real function is as France. And then you can do army reform. There you are. There's your army reform. That's you squared away. Now, if you don't care anymore, you can switch your research over to, say, Marines and that, depending on what your next build priority is. So, for example, if I think that this Germany player is pretty good, pretty competent, he's going to roll me, I won't bother researching the next anti-tank. I will instead research Marines, and I will begin preparing to make a invasion force for D-Day, so I can help my allies. So once I do get pushed back to North Africa, I have something to assist with the next step of the war. So actually that's what we're going to simulate now. We're going to simulate that. So Special Forces, Marines, research. Job done. Oh no, political violence. Next step in the master plan, get us a democratic reformer just so we can sort things out there. And chill. So you can also have fortifications here as well, but you've got to bear in mind again that you will not normally be at war at this stage in North Africa. So do not worry about that. At this stage as well, the UK should be air trading, doing an air war. Primarily, if the UK is good, it will be hopefully getting at least contested air. And if you can't get contested air, then you're probably going to lose France already. But even a good UK player will struggle to get contested air against a good or competent Germany team working at its fullest. Keep sending the attaches ready, please. So this is a weak Germany. As you can tell, it's AI. Don't be too upset so much. But yeah, it's a weak Germany. Normally, the Germany player will be much more competent and equipped for this. Also, the AI doesn't really like forts; it scares them, so they probably won't push there. They're more likely to push in the Alps, where there's less fortifications. So we may withdraw from France just to simulate the next steps, but we will explain that once we get there. For now, it's more of a stalemate. It's pretty much the same in multiplayer. There'll be a stalemate period. Probably this is a period where Germany will be invading Denmark and invading Norway, and you're just like chilling, waiting for the inevitable. You'll also be potentially building fortifications here as well, and generally just trying not to die. You can see here we're filing the green, which is great. Very important that we do eventually get in the green. And once again, I highly remind everyone that these troops will not be here in most multiplayer games. These troops will be in the north doing that defense in depth, and they will be doing garrison duty and garrison duty in North Africa.
Gardez vos rangs.
So we now have our boys, which we are going to put here. So you can normally put your mountaineers along the mountains there, fortifications there, and this act as a deterrent against the German menace. So a good defensive position as France, if you have to go for a North Africa hold, is this part here, because you've got the mountain tiles, which is going to do a lot of damage to German tanks, and then slowly falling back to the next mountains, and then eventually you'll end up in this part of North Africa, which is great for mountaineers, and you're going to have a really good time holding what's left of North Africa. Normally at this stage, Germany will get tired of fighting here, and so will move off and leave the Italians to hold you. You've got to bear in mind that this build is completely garbage against going on the offensive. It's all purely defense. Once you lose a tile, you've lost a tile. You won't be able to get it back. Don't even bother trying to retake it. Just accept the fact and slow down for the next offensive. 32, 13. So it's January 1940. This is normally where... Oh, hi, Messi. Welcome to the stream. We're just talking about the France build. So this is normally where Germany will start being a bit more aggressive, it will be preparing to advance, and it would have taken Norway and done what it needs to do. A bit like what it's doing now. We've got our army reform a bit late, but it's acceptable for most multiplayer games. Again, if you're a bit worried about this, you can get rid of all of this on the left, and instead just rush down army reform first. This is now done now. We can now either research here for the resource gain, go for military factories, or we can go form the National Research Institute. I instead like to go down for the Bloom Violet. However, you can also do economic devolution as well. To get that military production back up. So Denmark's gone, don't worry about it. It's a pretty easy time. You can have an easy time. So the AI is not going to do anything. It'll be scared, it'll be a potato, but we are going to simulate what happens next. So on average, if you've done an average France game, you will tend to lose France around about March time, March 1940. If you hold till March 1940 as France, you've done a good job, pat yourself on the back and say, I've done pretty average. If you hold, oh, let's do my next research focus. For longer than that, then you're really doing a massive bonus to your team. I would say you're almost game ruining if you hold for longer than, I'd say June 1940. If you hold until June 1940, you've effectively really gimped the Germany player. So we're going to simulate holding till March, and then we're going to withdraw from France. Or we'll simulate holding until June, and then we will withdraw from France. So if we're going to simulate that, also what we'll be doing is we'll be building our fortifications in North Africa. So let's build 1, 2, 3. There we are. Build these bad boys back up. And I have to remember to save the game because I sometimes forget which option to choose when I'm playing as France in multiplayer games. I haven't played Vichy France yet in multiplayer. I would like to play Vichy France, but it's often a nation that comes out halfway through, so often I don't really get a chance to play it. So this is not how things would normally go. Normally the German tanks will be coming smashing through you and wiping you out now. But because the AI is a bit more intelligent, it's not going to YOLO its way to death anymore, which is a bit of a shame. So we're going to have to do a steady withdrawal from here eventually. Other things you can do to assist if you're doing North Africa build is you can build up some planes. So for example, you can build up some airfields here and some airfields here, and then that can help the UK or the air controller get more air superiority over the central med. But it's a pretty high risk move to make. So it's now March. We're going to hold till April. We'll hold to April. We'll do a middle ground, and then we'll simulate the withdrawal and getting pushed out. So let's do a bit of explanation. So let's say this was not an AI and not Potato, and they actually used their tanks and attacked. So let's say these two tiles here, that they used to send their tanks in and they started breaking through. Now, because these are just infantry, these will eventually get broken through, no matter the amount of forts you put in, because they'll be using bunker buster, they'll have contested air, and so on. So what you'll be doing is you'll be feeding your anti-tank in like so. And if they start really breaking through, you'll be doing desperate defense. And then once your anti-tank has moved in, hopefully they win, and then they can withdraw. Now, if Germany is competent, they'll start pinning you, and if they start pinning you, then eventually your line is going to fall apart. But bear in mind, these 19 divisions will be up in the north. It gives you a bit more flexibility on defending. You see there's no air whatsoever. There's nothing going on in the slightest. You'd also have garrisons and things like that, but we don't have enough because the AI. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. And then, of course, the AI UK just completely screws up North Africa. Thanks, UK AI. Outstanding work. Not what you'd expect to see if you were holding till March 1940. No, if you're holding until June 1940, you've already won for the Allies. It was very, very difficult for the Allies to screw up after that. So it's April 1940. Again, single player doesn't really do this build justice because the AI is potato at single player, and yeah, it's not going to move and attack you. But we're going to simulate this is a competent Germany. He's broken through, and now we need to withdraw our troops. So where do we withdraw? Generally, you want to be withdrawing the mass of these troops up to the UK as quickly as possible and moving them via this route down into Casablanca to start being of use in North Africa. So we'll take our troops in the south and move them over here. And then we're going to take the troops in the north and move them over here. Generally, the more troops you get out, the better, because it means you've got a bank of manpower. This is portable manpower right now. So once you lose North Africa, well, once you lose France, you're going to have a really struggle to get manpower. So what you can do if you need Marines or you need more troops or you need more specialist troops is you can delete some of these, get your manpower back, and then build them elsewhere. So we're going to start mass withdrawing, as you do. There we go, let's start manual withdrawing. Wow, the French retreat. Now we're not putting too many troops here because of supply issues, so we don't want to overdo it. Start getting our battle plans ready. Again, normally you wouldn't be taking this. But let's say, hypothetically, the UK AI was competent and it knew what it was doing and it didn't get everyone killed.
Attention. Pareil.
Fall of France. Yay, France has lost. And they will have gotten some middling resources. Can I be bored to micro you? That's the question. Pierre, are you worth the hassle, Pierre? You want to get these guys out because if they are in France when it falls, then, well, unfortunately, you will not be able to get them back. They will be wiped out. They will be kaput. So why are we pushing this so well? It's simply because of supply. Plain and simple. The AI doesn't build any good supply in the west coast, and so you're going to have a pretty easy time with things. Put these guys on there. Garrison duty, again, you would be microing this properly. If it was a multiplayer game, you wouldn't just be aimlessly garrisoning them. I have no idea what this UK player, your UK AI is doing. I assume it has just gone crazy and has no interest. Attaches will be sent where they please. So let's hard research our naval invasion stuff now.
Gardez vos rangs.
Let's start hard microing this because it's not very clever what we're doing. A good way to build up our ports is to do this. There we are. to build up supply, and this will give us some local supply. Don't want to do it on the front line, but near about.
Attention.
Again, this will not work against competent Germans. You will just be defensive until really 1941. You're just there to be another route for advance. How is my country not fallen yet? So we have now, this is the poverty phase as the UK, as France, you're going to go through the poor stage. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. Just accept it and move on. That's why also get as many troops out as possible, because they're going to act as your equipment bank as well. If you have an equipment bank, then that's going to really help you in the long term.
Pareil.
So here we are. We've fallen, defeat. It's the end. So you can either collaborate and become Vichy. You can fight on and fight against the Germans. We can merge with Britain, which you can't actually do, or you can continue to fight. So I think it's continue to fight as France. I can't remember, but generally you want to pick the one that gives you -5% stability. But generally you have rule sets telling you what to do and what you can't. Yeah, Free France. There we are. We are Free France. Now we can start doing other things. So what we want to do now is we want to do the Bloom Violet proposal. Oh, we can't do that. That's a problem. You probably want to do this before you capitulate, because you need that extra non-core manpower. But I guess I didn't do that, so bear that in mind as well, that you want to be doing this instead of doing economic devolution and so on, rushing down here to get that manpower. Doesn't really matter, we've got plenty of manpower as it is, so there's nothing to be too upset about. And let's take a look at what else we can do. It's a pity you can't get any extra focuses to do what do you call it, resistance stuff, but hey ho. And for what it's worth, it's not too bad. It could be a lot worse. There you are, we've got our supply lines, this is good for us. And you can just continue advancing. You would not be doing this in a multiplayer game. You don't have the equipment for it. Your army, everything you built towards is not designed for offensive playstyle. It's purely defensive, and you're going to use your Marines in that for D-Day, and just to be assisting your team and buying time for your team. You are a speed bump. So you would in fact be spending the majority of your time for the rest of the war over here, doing very little of anything, slowing down the Allies, or slowing down the Axis, making a second front for the Allies potentially, and if they want you to do something, doing something to help them. Everything else really is designed just for D-Day and that, so from now on you're just preparing for the D-Day game, which won't really occur until 1940, so hang on. Next step in the master plan. Start attacking.
Gardez vos rangs.
Oh, whoa, 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 stop hitting.
Ordre.
Because they've got no supply, because it's the AI. Again, a competent...
Pareil.
Italy will have supply. It's not a question of may have supply, they will have supply.
Gardez vos rangs.
Start researching artillery, because we'll need this for our Marines. As recent events in Paris have an impact on most of us, and blah 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 blah. Okay, so it removes this, removes the charge of government, and removes check on the command. Okay, duly noted.
Attention.
Duly noted. Aegean Sea, Naval Invasion, I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. God, I love it when the UK screws up
Continue
things.
l'attaque.
This is pretty trivial. This is a pretty easy next step.
Écoutez.
Let's not abandon our
Arrêt.
ports too easily. You don't need to build 15 ports. You need to build 1 port and you're good. You can also do other meme things, like you can try and build like motorized rocket artillery and things like that. If you're feeling cheeky, but
Arrêt.
it's again the risk reward isn't there. Like most of the time, if you try and specialize as France, you just end up making garbage units that have no value. Is there a naval invasion? Yes, there is. I couldn't care less. Anything of value here? Not really. So you can see now we've got low supplies. That's going to be back and forth. So that's why we're building up our ports.
Aux ordres. Aux ordres.
Generally, if you can get to the stage where the player AI doesn't even want to attack you because of how fortified you are, you're normally onto a good thing. So it's always a good bet when you see that. Naval invasions everywhere, but I couldn't care less. Nice work, German AI. Yeah, anything I really want to invest in here? No, but I am a bit upset I didn't do the Blonde Violet proposal. I needed to do this. There's a bit of a mistake there. Yeah, so what I would recommend if once you do army reform, start rushing the Blonde Violet. Don't bother protecting the rights of man. Or don't bother with economic devolution. Don't bother with other garbage. Well, actually, you don't have much else you can invest in, really. So, yeah, but make sure you do this and then go down here and then go down here if you can, because it's important to do. Actually, is it? Because I've still got plenty of manpower. Actually, if you think about it, it's not that important. It's workable not having to, you can survive not doing it. Equally, because you've got grand battle plan, you should be doing this as well. Yeah. Mills for days. No, yeah, mills. Oh. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. And we've got a new port. So new port means more supply, like immediate supply. We can now attack again. And of course, the AI chooses to attack the worst spot. Anything else I want to particularly research? I mean, we could invest in Indochina, but there's no point. Not really, no. There's no point investing in anything else. Let's just invest in... This is where you switch. So if you had enough XP, you'd do Tenacious Defense, and now you switch to Bold Attack. Also, you would hopefully be investing in Elastic Defense, and that you can't do that with this build. So sadly not. Sadly not. We can get rid of no national focus. We don't need any national focus now. We cannon for the trades. We
Tirs ennemis.
up, up.
Écoutez,
Really? It was supposed to be going this way to Benghazi. Not going to make it. So once again we are stopped short. So once again, go that there.
écoutez.
And hold the attack. Again, you would be microing this. Yes, yes. Micro. Don't front. Oh, actually, you can front line if you're doing grand battle plan, but you preferably want to not do it, or preferably want to micro properly once after a certain level. Let's go with artillery engineer. So even though we've lost France, because we built up our industry elsewhere and we've gone free trade and so on, we've still got somewhat of a survivable industry. Which is good as France. It means we've still got value as France. And we're not just some garbage nation. So we've got the Marines. We're going to start building our Marines up now, so they're going to be the best of the best. So support artillery, so on and so forth. Cavalry detachment because I don't need oil. Yep, and then of course we're going to give these guys Marines, Marine, artillery, and of course we can do a lovely 40 whip if we're feeling particularly devilish. Or we can do 30 whip, it doesn't matter. But actually, we'll go 20 whip. I'll go 20 whip. So we can make more of them. Because you want to be naval invading on a wide front as the UK or the Allies. And once again, these guys won't really be the be-all or end-all for D-Day. They'll just be a force multiplier. So this is normally the stage where Italy would have fallen, but because the UK is really garbage, that didn't occur, so bear that in mind. What do I low on? A will to live by the looks of things. Come on now, we should be getting a nice chunk of supply now. Yeah. Where's my supply? Oh, I know why I'm not getting supply, because I turned this off. There we are, now we got supply. A bit silly of me.
Aux ordres.
And now you can just push. Or do this,
Attention.
because, yeah, ice potato. Mutinies in the army, patriotic speech. Bear in mind, you'd have a much higher doctrine normally at this stage because you would have at least done some fighting in France.
Attention.
All we're doing here is just chasing the Benghazi. That's all that matters. Again, wouldn't work in multiplayer, or wouldn't work in single player. Works wonderfully in multiplayer. So this is done now. this is done now. We can now invest in other things. So we could start investing in more anti-tank, but there's no point now if it's achieved what it needs to achieve. So instead, I would recommend reinvesting back in your production lines. Start attacking. I wonder if we can do some sneaky stuff here. Next time I get military XP, I'll also get conscription, because if I forget to do that, then we're going to have a bad time. Equally, because you don't have particularly fast troops, the Italians and the Germans will be running circles around you, unless you've got superiority, which is unlikely at this stage of the war.
Écoutez. Écoutez.
Block it, block it, block it, block it. Yay!
Gardez vos rangs.
Yay! Let's imagine we begged the UK, we begged the USA to give us stuff. Again, not going to happen in multiplayer. No one's going to give you jack shit as France. You're just going to be completely independent. Alright, let's hold here. Don't do anything, chill. Be cool! Be cool! Be cool, honey bunny, be cool. I'm a bit fed up that the UK collapsed. Come on, UK. What is wrong with you?
Gardez vos
Can't
rangs.
really afford that.
Gardez vos rangs.
I don't have any supply. Why don't I have any supply? I don't have enough convoys, apparently. I don't have enough oh my god. UK, please. USA, please. Stop. USA, stop. I don't even want this territory. The UK's just screwed me up. Just losing stuff hand over fist. Why are there so many German tanks here? This is actually pretty close to how it normally goes. I mean, what you can do, I suppose, if you're feeling devilish is... I wonder if I can give these guys anti-tank. Is that going to bankrupt me? Yes, it is. And if I can give my mountaineers anti-tank. I haven't even given them fucking... Okay. That's fine. Artillery, save. I don't want to build these anymore. I'm going to retreat these guys back. These guys back. These guys defensive. Why am I having to solo the German armor corps?
Continuez l'attaque.
Take a look at my piercing. No, I'm not. What a shame. Didn't expect to pierce, but you know, some hard attack. Stop trading with me. Who's trading with me? Who is forcing land lease down my throat? No. Good boy.
Continuez d'avancer.
Now this looks more like how it's supposed to go in North Africa, as you're getting slowly pushed back.
Allez, allez, allez. Bougez-vous. Bougez-vous. Aux ordres.
Okay. Workable. How have you let this happen? I'm not even mad, I'm just confused.
Gardez vos rangs. Bougez-vous.
Anyway, at this stage, let's imagine that the UK AI was competent and didn't cave in to the Italians straight away. At this stage, North Africa has been secured, wink wink, or you've lost North Africa and you got nothing left. So this is where you've got to start building up your troops for D-Day, and this is where you're going to start building up your Marines. So you're going to have nice 6 lovely Marines ready to go. Also, if you end up holding Ajaccio, then you get screwed over in terms of where your main... Oh yeah, this is a good bug. So effectively, Ajaccio becomes your capital because you block this, because you're getting convoy raided. All your troops begin to starve, especially in the east. So what you need to do is give up or return the state of Corsica. So where's Corsica? There you are. And now that will no longer be your capital, and you should be good to go. It says, where's my capital now? Where is my capital now? It should be like over here. Bruh. Where does it want? Oh god. Fine, whatever. Whatever. Do what you will. Focus tree. Give me some. It will just give me any sort of dockyards. Yeah. Okay, let's go down this way. Go down this way then, shall we? I need dockyards. Oh look, the AI is left. We can once again resume offensive operations.
Gardez vos rangs. Pareil.
Oh, I'm badly running out of equipment. Yeah, I am sort of.
Pareil.
This is why you'll be playing mostly defensive as...
Aux ordres. Gardez vos rangs.
The French. Also, what you can do is you can switch these guys out to be Brigade Colonial, and that will then save you a ton of manpower and save you a load of equipment, he says, hopefully. Takes a look. Yes, it will. There you are, a whopping 19k in reserve now for you. That's why you want to get as many troops out as possible, because that will buy you your equipment. Will buy you... well, units as France act as like an equipment bank. So even if you do lose units as France, you at least got some left in the bank for to use in other units.
Écoutez,
If I can just get over here and just cheese the AI.
pas de pitié.
What a
Visez
shame.
bien.
Can I pin you?
Écoutez,
Nah, it's gonna be a tank. I'm gonna be able to pin shit.
vos ordres.
Oh god, the tanks are back. The tanks are back. Run away.
Bougez-vous.
Run away. So don't accept land lease blindly. That's another rule. Another little lesson there for you. Oh, come on now. We can build up another port if we so desire, but I don't want to. And now we've got a healthy equipment bank. What on earth are you doing? What are you doing? Why have you done this? Why have you literally just
Visez
gave
bien.
up
Arrêtez.
most of our ports and you basically left a big port open for us to die on?
Écoutez.
There we are. This is why you micro. Again, it's just delaying. That's all we're doing.
Attention.
I can't even trade for supplies anymore because of fucking the bad men.
Vos ordres.
And now we're researching our rocket artillery. Okay. Infiltration. It's time to abandon ship.
Continuez d'avancer. Arrêt.
Come on, naval rearmament. Go, go, go. And then, hopefully, if I do clone your navy, we'll be able to start building more convoys. I suppose what you can also do is you can start, you know, actually protecting your convoys. We can start convoy raiding as well, and then these guys can start convoy escorting. Again, it's AI, so I don't really have to worry too much about this. Oh, you guys still attacking? That's a bit silly. Bit silly.
Pareil.
Yay, victory! Never-ending defeats. I'm losing so much artillery now. Alright, time to change these troops into Brigade Colonials.
On se magne.
Yeah, why not? And then these guys have got no supply whatsoever, so they're just going to keep kicking constant attrition. So once again, time to start microing, get these troops back. Yeah.
C'est parti.
Time to micro.
Écoutez. C'est parti.
I've got no dockyards. Yeah.
Attention.
I sure wish I should check. I should really check how who's land leasing me. No one's land leasing me. I've just ran out of dockyards. Okay, that's the point. Stop building naval stuff at the start. Defeat. No. Where's the British Navy when you need them? Not here. I'm no longer advancing here. I'm just giving up. I've given up. Let them screw themselves up over there.
Pareil.
So you got your Marines. Good for you. What does this mean?
Aux ordres.
This means that you will now send these guys to North Africa. Not North Africa. You will send them up to UK for D-Day. So who's got our most aggressive officer? This guy, who's got an attack of 5. We'll take him. And then who is our most aggressive commander? It is you, Weygand. So we take these guys and move them all the way to the UK. Again, you would be much more careful about how you move them. You wouldn't just send them over there willy-nilly. You would, of course, be careful how they get to the UK. For example, you wouldn't send them through the Suez because you're going to have a real bad time. So that's off the menu. The Suez is off the menu. Yay, dockyards, more dockyards. What do you mean we have no dockyards? There's literally a focus tree that says dockyards. Okay. Let's stop trading here. Let's stop trading here. Let's stop trading here. Stop trading. Hold the presses. Extra, extra. Oh, and if you were going to do a proper garrison, then you would just... It'd basically be this, maybe 10 whip with... engineering company, or 20 whip, depending on the law set.
Attention.
This is why we're moving our troops down now. It's going to take them ages to get where they need to be. Still no dockyards, apparently. I've got naval bases, but no dockyards. Oh, now this gives me naval dockyards. Okay. Okay. I wonder, will you guys give me convoys? Best land lease of convoys. Thank you. Oh, you sent me 12 convoys. Great. You're bad men. Bad, bad men. Oh, so that's for future note. That's for future note to start building convoys straight away rather than being lazy. So the war started in the east. This is where D-Day should be starting to take off.
Attention.
All our boys will be taking a very long time to get anywhere, which is pretty standard in these games. And depending on the situation, you'll be either be assisting with D-Day or you'll be trying to do a Husky. So you can see with our Marines, they're pretty garbage. They're pretty garbage, but again, they're not going to be the main landers that are there to be of some use for
Écoutez.
for the Americans and for the British. That's their main focus. Whoa, hey, did the Italians just bug out? I think they did. Well, let's do it. Another defeat. And finally we can start building more convoys. Just as many convoys as you can give me, bro.
Gardez vos rangs. Allez, allez, allez.
Because none of my stuff has any any fuel.
Gardez vos rangs.
There's nothing else here I want. Nothing else here I want. I suppose we could invest in Indochina, but why when they're about to take it?
Attention. Gardez vos rangs.
Oh, I can do more doctrine. I keep on forgetting to do doctrine. Yeah. Blitz is always a very valuable one, very powerful doctrine to have.
Ordre.
Yeah, you can join the war course. Go, see why not. So while we're researching rocket artillery, it's because we need the breakthrough for our Marines. So this is why we're doing a hard research for rocket artillery, and that is why most of our equipment will now be going into rocket artillery, so that we may equip our Marines with such weapons. And this will give us a breakthrough of 65, which, although doesn't appear a lot, is still very useful.
Écoutez. Gardez vos rangs.
And there we have it, our Marines ready and raring to go, even though we've got no convoys. Keep researching rocket artillery up as much as you can. And then these guys, prepare landing. Boop, 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 boop. Oh no, 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 I'm not falling for this meme. Boop, boop, boop. And then take half of those. Yeah, see that. Boop. Boop, boop. There we are. And let's keep going because it looks like the Italians are just completely abandoned North Africa, which is great. This is great. This is great. Good old AI. Never disappoints in terms of screwing up the game. In both ways, really. For both sides. I don't know how I'm still able to attack with no supplies, but sometimes it'd be like that. So I am going to need to wait until I've got my rocket artillery up, which will be fairly soon, 61 days, which is pretty good.
Écoutez.
I need to build another port. Build a port here. There we are. And now we can wait, as per usual.
Gardez vos rangs.
So at this stage, I'm crying internally, but altogether not too bad. I wonder if the Americans have joined the war now. Yeah, the Americans have. That's good. So the Americans start coming in. Unless you're going to give me convoys, you can shove that up your ass. Don't need that. Fine. There you are. You happy? You could also be doing this as well, researching the naval stuff for Italy. And you could be doing desperate defense as well for defense plus 20%, entrenchment plus 50%, but there's no need for that right now. Anyway, it is now time to D-Day, so we get our navy, boop, 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 boop. Send them over here, and once we've simulated the D-Day, or simulated the end of it, we will be good to go. Again, this is a pretty basic guide. I don't really do guides completely optimizing to the ridiculous capacity. I just generally give you a theme for you to work around, and for the most part, this theme is just slowing down, allowing the UK to build up defences and the Allies to build up defences, and then still having game impact towards the end. So we see here, we've got our Marines, we've got plenty of troops, plenty of artillery. Actually, we don't have plenty of artillery. Why is that? Because these guys are still too good. So these guys need to be changed to be something less good. Let's change them to... Let's just delete them. Fuck it. Delete them. There we are. There we are. That's good. And then we can continue. And now we should be ready to go in exactly 19 days. And so you've got the general idea. You are slowing down the German advance, buying time for your allies, and then being a thorn in their side. It's giving the allies options, trying to hold the west. So if the allies want to push in the west, they can use you to push in the west, or they can use the terrain you've held to push in the west. If they want to D-Day, you've got troops on standby to D-Day. If they need your airfields, and so on and so on. After you lose France, your job is to effectively just accommodate the Allied war effort. Once you've accommodated the Allied war effort, you no longer really have to concern yourself with anything else. And of course, you can do this properly with the Naval Invasions support or micro, but no one's got time for that. There you are. Begin D-Day with your 10 divisions.
Attention.
Force attack.
Écoutez.
There you are.
Attention. Continuez d'avancer. Attention. Bougez-vous. Bougez-vous.
And there's your D-Day. This pretty much sums up the French France guide. Really, you're going to these units will not work against a proper player, but they will help the actual better Allied Marines in their D-Day. At the end of the day, if you can provide 10 Marines for the UK for their D-Day, then you're more than competent and you're doing an extremely good job at helping the Allies. Equally, if you're producing a functional France with enough equipment to sustain itself and not need to beg and actually have some game impact, you're doing well. So to come away with this, France is a speed bump. How good you are as a France is how long you can hold for. Being around June 1940 being a really good point, and average being sort of the March point. You are the quality assessor of the Germany, making sure they understand, proving that he's capable and competent by putting forward basic concepts like org walls, fortifications, and anti-tank to sort of challenge the Germany players' understanding of the game. If they can pass all of that, then you will fall on that asset. And then once that stage is over, you move to the North Africa stage where you're playing majority defensive, keeping an area open for the Allies so they can begin military maneuvers or potentially dragging forces off the east. So some German players like to send their tanks to the west and knock out France first before they move and knock out the Suez. So if you can hold long enough, then you can waste their time, do some damage to their tanks, and then force the German tanks back to the east. And I've had games where if you've built them properly and you've built your defenses properly, then you can do a really strong defense of this part of North Africa and this part of North Africa as well. Anyway, let's take a look at division templates. So we have got a soft attack of 130. So these were our original line holders. They're not going to be very good at anything. They're just there for org rolls, and they've got eventually an org of 60. Defense of 389, which is actually very good for defense, and an entrenchment of 9, which will mean that they are going to be very difficult to dislodge if they get entrenched. So it's going to be a very micro-heavy game. You're going to have to do a lot of micro. You won't be able to do a front line in most of your time as France, because the AI will potato out. Then for the marine, or for the anti-tank, bear in mind this won't be accurate because the game's gone on for quite a while. You got a piercing of 70, soft attack 130, a hard attack 135. Again, this is not going to knock out tanks one-on-one, but it is going to damage tanks, and it is going to challenge the German armor. And if they can pierce and pen and slow down the advance and slow down the tanks and slow down and just generally stop their being as effective as they tend to be, then you've done a good job with these anti-tank troops. If you can get 10 of these out, you're good to go. If you can't, then it is what it is. And then, of course, our Marines with a soft attack of 195. Not very good for this period of time, but again, you are not the quality. You are the quantity. You are there to assist your allies. Do not try and make specialized high-grade units of France. You do not have the industry. You do not have the ability to do so, and you will waste your time. So we have a soft attack there, a breakthrough of 78, which is not very good, but over time with upgrades and that, it will be pretty good. And November 1941 is a pretty acceptable D-Day time, really, for the French. Now, if we wait for 17 days, we can see how well that gets. Let's see, we will see how well this gets. 16, 15. Yeah, it's been quite a while, Tom. It's been quite a while. 14, 13, and we'll see if our breakthrough gets any better. But it is what it is. You got to accept it. In terms of our Naval Invasions, amphibious, we're going to have a nice plus 55 attack, and then everything else is going to be pretty bone. Still, that is the French build, the speed bump. There are some minor adjustments you can make. You can, of course, do some doctrines and naval doctrines for your navy, and so on and so forth if you feel like it. But generally, it's France quite a fun game because you're expected to lose, and that means that you have a lot of potential to just do what you like, and generally, if you do hold, to impress a lot of people. So we've upgraded that. Let's take a look at Marines now. Marines now have a breakthrough of 78. Now, if we replaced one of these with, say, a rocket artillery battery, we would now have a breakthrough of 80. Not a lot of breakthrough, really quite crappy breakthrough, but it's better than nothing. At the end of the day, it's better than nothing. And in fact, you can switch this out to have a double breakthrough, but again, you're not going to get a lot out of it. It's really when you get to rocket artillery 2, you can have a good time. Anyway, that's me done. I'm not going to show you the rest. It's going to be a grind, just slowly knocking out the Italians and hoping that the US reinforces and so on. If you have any questions about this build, don't feel free to ask. But it's a pretty self-explanatory build. It's generally you are playing for the long game to support your allies. Anyway, that is me done for the day. I think tomorrow will either be still Division 2 multiplayer, or it will be Pathologic. We will see. Anyway, thank you very much, boys and girls, and I'll see you all later.